Good morning, students. Let me start with a few lines which I read when I was doing my MBA course, and I read this in a book. Adam Smith, look what I charge you with. Did you not say in class one day that dishonesty was bound to pay? That dishonesty was bound to pay. What a poem. Dishonesty never pays in the long run. Dishonesty pays, but it only brings hardships and more hardships in the long run. Let us start the last lecture on marketing management, which is called Unethical Practices in Marketing. In this lecture, we will discuss, I will give you some examples of some of the unethical practices in marketing. We will also try to understand as to why after all a marketing is ethics is considered important in marketing. Does do ethical practices actually pay in the long run? Yes, then why so? And if not, then why so? We will also discuss principles of marketing. We will also try to understand what is the actual process of marketing which organizations take or they follow to make their organizations more ethical. At the outset, I must say that no organization can think of being ethical unless it has the support of all the stakeholders, including very importantly the management, the shareholders, and the employees. I hope you will like this lecture, Unethical Practices in Marketing. Thank you. Let us discuss, before we move on to unethical practices, some of the marketing's negative impact on other businesses. So, an organization which is very strong in marketing, which has established a great presence in the market, how does it negatively impact other businesses? Very often, a company which has very large market share and which is a predominant player in its own target market, it tends to acquire competition, smaller competition. So you will find a major ketchup company or a sauce company would like to acquire a small ketchup company in a state where that small company is dominant. I remember there was a ketchup manufacturer in Jaipur. It was called Krishi ketchup, which was very popular. It was eventually acquired by a bigger brand. I think it was acquired by Kisan. You remember Kisan itself was acquired by a multinational company. So what happens is once you acquire smaller businesses which have carved a niche for themselves, it leads to less competition. It is also said that marketing practices create barriers to entry. What is meant by barriers to entry? That is, in the minds of a customer, you are so well entrenched that your product, your brand becomes synonymous with the product category itself. It becomes a generic brand. And also, you have such a strong network of distributors and dealers that it is very difficult for any new entrant to break into that group. You will recall for a very long time there used to be only two companies which used to sell pressure cookers, Hawkins and Prestige. Do you remember? Those were the times. Today, of course, again these two companies are major players, but many more companies have come. So, marketing practices, it establishes this a strong brand, but it also creates barriers for other competition. It is said that sometimes a strong marketing company, it uses unfair practices to hurt competition or to destroy other companies. So let us say you are a very strong brand in the country and you have 55-60% market share, and then a new brand is coming. So you tend to tell the distribution chain, because the distribution chain will be common, the retailers will be common, the dealers will be common, the retail sales point, the dukandar, the kiryana shop will be common. You tend to do take cert to give some schemes that you flood the market. Sometimes, whenever a new company comes and it tries to place stocks at the retail counters, I am aware that the big, well-entrenched company will buy all those stocks and destroy it. This is an extreme case, but this happens. So these are the three negative points which can be cited against marketing as to how it impacts other businesses negatively. Sociologists also believe, and it is also felt, that marketing impacts society negatively. Of course, it impacts positively also because it makes available goods and services to all. And once the market is big enough, the costs are divided and efficiencies of scale is achieved because the market is huge. So production also the economies of scale is achieved. But it is said that marketing creates false wants and it has led to too much materialism. So, you're flooded with the advertisements of new brand of shirts, new style of shirts, new jewelry, new cosmetics, and it creates a want, which is not really, which is something you can do without. And it leads to materialism. Materialism means when you give more importance to material things over things which are non-material, over things which are essentially spiritual, or things which don't cost you money. Okay, this is the first allegation, you can say, that marketing's negative impact on society. It is said that marketing does not do much social goods. You hardly find a positive marketing campaign for something which is good for the society in general. If you ask me personally, this trend is decreasing because you find lot of marketing for social causes, lot of marketing for social causes. So this criticism, uh, I don't like to uh, endorse this criticism fully. But then, yes, marketing should be used more and more for social goods. There is also said there is also an allegation that marketing leads to cultural pollution. What does cultural pollution means? People say that the consumerism in the sense of more consumption, not in the sense of consumer activism. That consumerism uh, which tends to lead to higher consumption, even though it is not required. That is a culture which is associated with the Western consumption pattern. It has also come to India. It has led to cultural pollution. People are eating out more. People are spending more amount of money in things which are not so Indian, right? Which are not so Indian, and lot of cross culture pollution is taking place. People are giving up their traditional values and they are madly aping the West. Dating service, dating service, unheard of. We had heard about matrimonial service, we had heard about, in which the parents of the eligible boys and girls would take part. But now there are dating services which are available. This is cultural pollution. Right or wrong, this is the criticism of marketing. So I've explained to you what is the criticism of marketing as to how it negatively impacts the business. I have also explained to you what is the negative impact of marketing on the society as a whole. These are allegations. Don't go by what your professor says. Examine these criticisms on your own and come to a conclusion. Read about them, analyze them, and form your own opinion. This is my advice for you. Thank you. In this slide, we will discuss some of the major marketing decision areas that may be illegal maybe unethical. You remember in the previous lessons I told you whatever is illegal is unethical, without exception. Don't believe in anybody who says this one is slightly illegal, but it is for the greater good of the society or for the corporation or for mankind. Whatever is illegal is unethical. This is my mantra. This is what I like to tell all my students anyway. So I have taken this slide from the book Principles of Marketing by Philip Kotler and others. He has given a very beautiful classification of major marketing decisions that may be illegal, and most of it is illegal in India as well. In selling decision, the author says bribing, and bribing, especially in case of direct business, when you are approaching a large industry, or when you're suppose you're selling a aircraft to the government of a country, or you're selling defense equipment, it is said that bribing is prevalent. So it is illegal, unethical, immoral. Stealing trade secrets while you are participating in a tender process, and when you are answering the request for proposal, you have access to a lot of things about the principal client which are essentially secret, and you use this with the other customer. You use the knowledge of this information with the other customer. Suppose I am executing a project for a very large telecommunication company. What is the technology I am using in this project, or the principal company, the company that has engaged me as a vendor or as a service provider, what is the technology they are using? Suppose I reveal this to some other party with whom I hope to work later. Stealing trade secrets. Disparaging customers. To look down upon customers in your communication. सर्फ की खरीदारी में ही समझदारी है. There was an ad which irked many. The model Kavita Chaudhary, I think was her name, she would say, सर्फ की खरीदारी में ही समझदारी है. As if those who don't purchase surf, they are idiots. Of course, this is unethical. It's not illegal. Unfair discrimination. You unfairly discriminate between customers. Some people can say that this is a pricing strategy. Some people can say that this is an unfair discrimination. You have to decide whether this is ethical or not ethical. But in some countries, this is illegal activity in certain areas. Advertising decisions which can be questioned. False advertising. False advertising. My sanitizer conforms to the norms of Indian Medical Council. False. It does not, and still you say. You say my medicine is approved by Ayush Ministry, whereas it is not. False. Deceptive advertising. Deceptive, not false. Deceptive advertising. Wherein you try to give an impression of what your product may not be. My Chavanprash has got Chandi and Sona, silver and gold. It may have 1 millionth of such element, but you say that my Chavanprash has silver, right? Bait and switch advertising, wherein you give an inducement, where you give an inducement for a person to switch, and later on you take away that inducement. It's not illegal. Whether it is ethical or not, I don't know. We, we have to see, we have to judge. Sometimes, customers are mature enough to understand that this is basically a bait which is being given so that you switch loyalties. Major decisions involving channels, exclusive dealings. You force you are a monopoly product. You are a no. There can be no monopoly product in Indian market today, but you force a particular retailer to say that you will only sell my product, you will not sell any of the competitive product unless it is your own showroom. Unless it is your own showroom, is it ethical to do that? Exclusive territorial distributorships. You say, okay, you are a FMCG company. You tell a guy in a new market that I am giving you this geographical territory, and then later on you withdraw some of the part of the territory because you have suddenly become greedy. You think that this person will not be able to do justice because the sale is anyway increasing. He has worked hard, he has gone from counter to counter to increase the awareness of your product, and then you know, take away that part of his territory. Or on the part of the distributor, on the part of the distributor to say, in this territory you will not sell to anybody else. A strong distributor of especially industrial product, automotive products, is able to dictate terms to the companies. I have seen this. Strong distributors will say, okay, in the market of Agra, you will sell your product only through me. There are many other things. There are tying agreements. There are violation of dealer rights. Product decisions are there. You add a product line or you add a feature to a product, you remove that, and your product does not conform to the quality aspect or the safety aspect. You give a product warranty, but you put so many clauses in the fine print that the customer does not read them. These are all unfair decisions. They may be called into question by the government, by the law enforcement agency, or they are unethical. Packaging decisions, excessive cost, packaging, excessive cost. You see, something which costs 200 rupees when it is delivered by Amazon or Flipkart, the packaging itself is very expensive. No doubt the company may not be passing on the cost of packaging, but then it's a waste of natural resource. Use of scarce resources. You may use resources which are otherwise scarce, and you may use it not for the purpose of giving the primary benefit that product or that element is intended to give. Pricing decisions, price fixing. Cement companies get together and they say, okay, we are 6 white cement manufacturers and we will fix the price as this cartelization. In my last lecture, I told you about the Liverpool electric bulb, which is there. It is burning, it is lit for the last 100 years. But planned obsolescence is there. The product is programmed to die after a certain number of hours or days. Predatory pricing. Predatory pricing. Zero price for the broadband or for 4G for 6 months. And Airtel and Vodafone, they start to bleed. An idea starts to bleed. You know whom I am referring to. I am referring to Jio's pricing. Minimum pricing. What is meant by minimum pricing? A company can tell its dealer not to sell below a certain price because it wants to maintain a brand. When a brand becomes very popular, then a lot of shopkeepers, they will keep that brand, and they try to give schemes to the customers. Because the volume is very high, they even work on lower margins, and company comes and says, no, you cannot sell below this because this will harm my brand's image. You know, whether it is ethical or not. On competitive relation decisions, I have explained to you in the last slide. It creates barrier to entries, anti-competitive acquisitions, predatory competition. I think it's a very good list provided by Philip Kotler of major marketing decisions that may be called into question by the government, under the law. And many of them, most of them, or all of them actually are unethical also. Please go through them. It is not that when I'm saying predatory pricing, you have to take it as a gospel truth that predatory pricing. Sometimes what may appear as a predatory pricing could actually be a very low pricing achieved because of very high efficiencies, and we may think it is a predatory pricing. So one has to use his own ethical standard to judge whether his step is moral, immoral, ethical, unethical. I hope this slide has helped you understand what is ethical decision and what is a legal decision. Thank you. Hello again. In the last slide, we discussed some of the marketing decisions which can be called into question by the law. In this slide, I basically want to draw your attention towards unethical advertising. Advertising, which is a part of promotion, the third P of marketing. I'll quickly go through the points, and I have taken it from marketingschool.org. First is surrogate advertising. Surrogate advertising, certain kind of products are banned and they are not allowed to advertise in any medium. For example, a bottle of whiskey or cigarettes, tobacco ads, they are not allowed to advertise. These companies are not allowed to advertise their products. But still, what the company will do, it will come out with another product category which allows advertising, and it will flood the media with those advertisements, and in effect they are reminding their users or customers of the main product which is banned, for which advertising is banned. Bagpiper soda. How many cases of soda Bagpiper sells? Or Imperial Blue water. Imperial Blue is a whiskey brand. They can't advertise for whiskey brand, so they will say Imperial Blue. They will come out with Imperial Blue uh, distilled mineral water. How many cases of mineral water do they sell? No. But this product is basically out in the market to cover for the the liquor brand, the alcohol brand. This is surrogate advertising. I have written to Advertising Standards Council of India. I have asked them, is surrogate advertising allowed? Whom can we complain against surrogate advertising? I have received no response. So I think surrogate advertising it's an unethical advertising. It's unethical advertising, though not unlawful. Exaggeration in advertising, बहुत बड़ा चढ़ा के बात को बोलना. Okay, uh, there was a major there was a company network, there was a telecommunication company which said that wherever you go we follow you, and the company's network was very poor. It was very poor, and it was claiming through its ad that it is following its subscriber anywhere in the earth, in the jungles, in the riverfronts, in the Bay Area. So exaggeration is unethical. Third is puffery. What is meant by puffery? Puffery means when your claims are not objective, they are rather subjective. This is the best tasting coffee in the world. And how can you define what is best taste? Taste varies from palate to palate. Some people may find taste good, some people may find the taste of that product not good. This is puffery. You are using subjective claims rather than objective claims. Or you say in a survey of 300 people, 90% respondents said that our coffee is better than the other coffee. Then at least it is some kind of a objective claim. But just saying best tasting coffee in the world, this is puffery. Unverified claims. Fourth. So surrogate advertising, one, exaggeration, puffery. Fourth, unverified claims. This fairness cream will make you 2 shades fairer, or the use of this shampoo will stop hair fall. Okay, I can understand that the shampoo can take care of dandruff, but no shampoo can stop hair fall, right? It has been tested that no shampoo can stop hair fall. If you will go bald because of some reason, you will go bald. No shampoo can protect you unless, and this is true in case of 80 to 90% cases. People go bald because of genetic reasons, because of the genes they are carrying. Another unethical thing about advertising is stereotyping particular set of people. For example, stereotyping women. She is stereotyped as a housewife. Okay, she is stereotyped as an object of lust. She is stereotyped as an object of glamour. All she wants to do is look good, move from here and there. Or she is seen shouting at the kids. Stereotyping women. This is unethical advertising. False brand comparison. You're comparing your brand with another brand, and you're attributing some negative aspects to the competitive brand. This is false brand comparison. There is a case of two ice cream manufacturers. One ice cream manufacturer is saying that the other manufacturer cannot term his product as ice cream. He can call it frozen dessert because the fat he uses in his product is not dairy fat, it is vegetable fat. And they keep on fighting. Who I don't know. I think this is a this is between an ice cream company, and Amul has launched this allegation against that company. So false brand comparison. Comparison between there was an ad in which a respondent says, "What is this? Is this a cola or a gulab jamun?" It was an ad by Thumbs Up, which was disparaging Pepsi, because Pepsi is considered to be a bit sweet as compared to Thumbs Up. So whether this is ethical or not. Then the children advertising. Children consume huge amount of advertising without being able to evaluate it objectively. Mummy, mummy, bhook lagi, Maggie. That's an ad. So children, they get attracted towards such ad. Whether Maggie, which is mainly maida, whether it is good for health or not. So this exploiting this innocence is one of the most common unethical marketing practices. So I hope you understand now unethical advertising, because many of us either feel that marketing is selling or marketing is advertising. So these are two very important areas. In this slide I have tried to cover some types of unethical advertising. If you have some more examples, if you think we should add to this category, please do let me know. Please write to me or WhatsApp me. Thank you very much. Welcome back, students. Let us now examine that what is the need for an organization to follow a marketing ethics. Every organization, if it is a medium size or a big organization, has a code of ethics. There will be a code of ethics for Infosys, which is very well articulated. I've studied the code of ethics of HCL also. It is also a very well crafted document, very, very comprehensive, encompasses everything. But let's come back to the main question. Why does an organization need ethics? The first point is that every organization operates in a society. So it must follow the norms of the society. जिस समाज में ऑर्गेनाइजेशन काम करता है उस समाज के कायदे कानून उसको अपनाने पड़ेंगे. This is primary, needs no explanation. If an organization works in a society where there are no rules and regulations, the organization will not follow any rules and regulations. If an organization is working in a society which is cultured, which is well governed, which is democratically elected, where there is a system of punishment if you flout a norm, and where there is a system of reward if you do something good, if people appreciate you, if you do something noteworthy, then the organization also needs to follow these tenets of society. That's the first. Because business operates in a society, it must follow the norms of the society. Second point is adherence to market ethics. It enhances customer loyalty. It enhances reputation and long-term profitability. Many studies have established that a company which is strong on ethics, which is seen as a strong ethical organization, it is reflected in the market capitalization of the company. What is market capitalization? Number of shares in the market multiplied with the market value of the each share is market capitalization. Companies which are ethical, they generate customer loyalty. Suppose there is a car company which finds out that after the first batch has been sold, there is a deficiency in the brakes of the car, and it recalls the cars. It gives an apology to all its customer, and it rectifies the mistake and gives you car again. Would you not be loyal to such a company? Ethical company. It realized its mistake, it accepted it. Also, I told you, if you are ethical, you will always be a lawful corporate citizen. The third is, if you have marketing ethics, you will be on the same side of the law, right? You will not indulge in illegal activity. Bribing is an offense. If you're bribing to get a contract in the name of your company by offering monetary gratification to an official, to a procurement officer or to a procurement head, it's unlawful. So if you don't do this, you follow a strong code of ethics, this means you're on the same side as the law. So you're safe. This is third. Fourth point is strong consumer activation. Consumer activation, consumer activism, not activation, consumer activism. Consumer activism is ensuring that companies behave in an ethical manner. So I know of a company in NCR which has taken approval for 250 flats, but it has gone ahead and built 300 flats, and it has sold all those 300 flats. So all the residents are up in arms against this company, and they are going to the court. And why? Because completion certificate will not be given to this company. Completion certificate will be given only to 250 flats. So who are the losers? People who bought those flats. So they have taken up very strongly against the builder in the court of law. Consumer activism very strong. So it is safe to be ethical. If you have a construction approval to build 250 flats, build 250 flats. If you build 300 flats, the buyers will not let you live in peace. Fifth point is a code of ethics helps you take informed decision, consistent decision. So if the decision of the company is that, if the code of ethics says, come what may, the company will not indulge in bribing. It's very simple. You will not participate in the deals which depend upon greasing the palms of the official. You are consistent. You may lose a contract, but you adhere to your code of ethics. Marketing ethics also protects society. It protects the consumers. If you are ethical, you will not indulge in puffery in your advertising campaign. You will not indulge in exaggeration. You will not indulge in false claim. This ensures the protection of customer. In fact, and that's the last point, it benefits all stakeholders. Advertisers know what to advertise. The advertising company knows what are the limits. The salesman know what is the ethical way of selling the product. The marketer knows how the marketing plan will be built on the strong edifice of ethics. So these are the 7 points which prove that it is indeed beneficial for the company to follow a strong marketing ethical code. Need for marketing ethics I have explained to you. I hope you will go through this slide again, imbibe what I have taught you, introspect, and when you go out and have your own careers, you will also try to be ethical. Thank you. Hello students, let us now discuss some of the principles of marketing ethics. And I have taken this slide once again from marketing-schools.org. First of all marketing communication must share common standard of truth. So it is not that you're mentioning on your packaging that these are the ingredients of the product and in your advertising campaign you're saying giving out another set of ingredients, right? So communication, all message, entire message in the communication must be standard. Same communication must flow across all media. Another thing is truth must be contained in all communication. So marketing professionals should abide by highest standard of personal ethics, truthfulness, honesty. It should not happen that in a dealer's meet you are saying that this product will give these benefits. You exaggerate the benefits. But in the periodical or in the technical journal, you write some other benefits. Because when you are writing something, you cannot have exaggerated claims, especially if it is a form of the paper that contains technical specification. Isn't it? Advertising. It should be clearly distinguished from news and entertainment content. So you're going to the website of India Today and suddenly you find something which looks like a news but actually it is promotion of a tractor. So in the article first they have mentioned something about the agriculture and the need to cultivate the land properly, and then they write about the tractor. It should not happen. It doesn't happen in India Today anyway, because if a website like India Today or Outlook or Rediff, they will always mention sponsored feature or impact feature or advertisement. They will not insert an advertisement as a news. It doesn't happen. Fourth point is marketers should be transparent about whom they are paying to endorse their product. So if you are actually paying, let us say, a website, then you must insist that it goes under advertorial. Advertorial. It doesn't go under editorial. If you are not paying somebody to endorse a product, and if you are paying somebody to endorse a product, these are two different things. So you cannot make a communication message appear like a free endorsement and make people to believe that this celebrity is endorsing this ad for free. Okay. Also, you should be very clear if you're paying a advertising company and advertising company is paying, let us say, a newspaper, you must ensure that it is featured in a proper place in the newspaper. It cannot look like an ordinary article. Another principle of marketing ethics is all consumers should be treated fairly, and you can discriminate between the customers, but you should be open about it. For example, if you are selling to a one customer at a certain price and you are tying a product with it and you are selling the other customer when you are not giving any other product with it, you have to be open about it. Privacy of customer must be respected. It cannot be compromised. Privacy of the customer. You are an e-commerce platform and you have huge database of companies. You have the credit card numbers of your customers. You know their shopping pattern, you know their behavior, you know their telephone numbers, you know their birth dates. You cannot share this data with any other person. You have to ensure that the privacy of the customer or consumer is maintained at all times, at all cost. In general, marketers should comply with the regulations and standards established by government and professional organization. So, if the government law stipulates that there can be no home delivery of a medicine unless it is prescribed by a doctor, You should not door deliver that medicine, isn't it? If door delivery of cigarettes and alcohol is not allowed, you should not do that, isn't it? So you have to comply with the regulation and standards established by the government. Another most important principle, which I am mentioning in the last, but actually it should be the top, that ethics should be discussed openly and honestly during all marketing decisions. Why this decision is being taken? That we will be transparent to the customer if we come to know about the shortcoming of our product after the product has been sold. We should discuss it openly. A whistleblower has to be protected. Of course, this doesn't form a part of the principle of marketing ethics, rather organizational ethics. So these are some of the principles I have discussed with you. You can go through them again. And each one of them, each one, each one is important. All marketing professionals must adhere to these principles. And I hope you will. Thank you. So then we have understood what is ethics, what is marketing ethics, principles of marketing ethics, what is ethical, what is unethical. We have taken a lot of examples of unethical practices. We have also now known why is it important for an organization to be ethical. So the final question, how does an organization implement, first of all, how does it develop a ethical plan and how does it implement it? See, ethical marketing does not refer to a plan, uh, a particular plan itself. It rather offers a tool for companies to evaluate their marketing strategies, which they have used in the past, present, or will use in the future. What does it mean? Let's take the case of a company which is fairly old in existence. It has been in operation in the market for several years now, and it has to make an ethical plan. So it will examine what have been their marketing strategies, their product strategies, pricing strategies, distribution strategies, promotion strategies. They will debate amongst themselves whether there are some gaps between what they think is ethical and what they practice. Very important. Top management will sit, departmental heads will sit. What are the gaps between what is ethical and what is their practice? It's very tricky. The company can decide that they will not follow the ethical marketing strategy. So a company, a contracting company, a company which is essentially carrying out large projects and it is used to giving a commission or a cut of 6% to the principal company, they will say, okay, if we don't give this 6% cut, we can't get any business. What happens then? You don't make an ethical plan then, is it? No. Strategically, you have to think in future if you want to become a respected organization. You have to stop these sharp practices. You have to adhere to the ethical principles. Sometimes somebody can say, okay, in the short run, suppose we don't give any commissions or underhand or bribes, money under the table, then we will lose this much of sales. So management say, okay, we are willing to take this hit. But eventually we would be able to establish ourselves as a top-notch company, a company which is ethical company. We will gain respect. Even our old customers, they will come to know that we have dispensed with the old ways and we are a professional organization now. So they will do pros and cons. Some companies may adopt an ethical strategy, some companies may not adopt an ethical strategy. Very important. I am telling you from my experience, this is what happens. There are some ethical companies, and I quote this example from a book. And when I was working for Exxon Mobil, I had two trainers who came to me who were associated with an Australian company called the Body Shop. Body Shop is a worldwide chain of uh, bath and body stores. And since their inception, they are committed to certain values. They treat their workers fairly. They don't do testing on animals. They use organic products, and they generally promote healthy body images. These are their core values. So resulted, these values have resulted in the way this company is able to differentiate itself from the competitors. You remember in marketing, we understood segmentation, targeting, differentiation, and positioning. So, if you are ethical, you have a lot of talking points and you would be able to differentiate yourself from the competition on the basis of being ethical alone. It pays to be ethical in the long run. And again, I am telling you, unless there is a buy in of entire chain of stakeholders, a company cannot roll out an ethical strategy. So, imagine a case wherein you are saying, as a in the company, we will bribe to get projects, but we will not allow our procurement manager not to take bribes. Is it possible? You will bribe to get contracts. Your salespeople will bribe the principal companies, the clients to get contract. But you will not allow your procurement manager to accept bribes. Not possible to have two standards in the same organization. That's why the ethical marketing plan. So top management sits will decide and look at its past practices. How good have they been? How bad they have been? By keeping these practices, how much they can grow. By shunning these practices, how much they will lose in the first years, but how much they will gain eventually. Can there be minor changes, adaptation? Will this help us develop new image? All of this goes into when you are there to make a strategy, ethical market plan, an ethical plan rather, or you're building a code of conduct for your company, a code of ethics for your company. So marketing will take a decision along with the other stakeholders of the company. And we are referring to marketing only because we are discussing about the how to build a marketing plan which is ethical or how to induce ethics in the marketing. So the effort will begin with a careful analysis of the company, its customer, and the market it operates in. If you deal with customers who all encourage unethical practices, if you are dealing in a market which deals in where it is impossible to survive without indulging in sharp practices, then you have to take a decision. So number one, you can decide, okay, I'll not operate in this market. Suppose there is you are a road construction company and you have to build road in an area which is infested by the Maoists, and you need to give a few percentage, a set percentage, 8 to 10% to the mafia there. You will decide, the company will decide whether you will operate in this market, because you cannot operate in this market without giving them the protection money. That's the first step. Careful analysis of your customer, of the market you are operating in. Step two, you will decide which features you will take, which features you will not take. For example, you can decide, I will continue to give 6% protection money to the mafia without whom I cannot operate. Everybody gives, all companies give. But I will not give a bribe to the inspecting officials of the company, of the government. Suppose you are doing a project which is a government project. So you can choose, Because you can say, I am a company which is building roads only in this state, and this state is infested by its by the terrorists or the separatist organizations, and who will demand their pound of flesh if they allow you to work on this project. So this is something which is a part of the cost, but I will not indulge in other sharp practices. I will not compromise on the quality of the road construction material, and I'll endeavor to become the best construction company for the state government. So you're picking now. You will continue to give the protection money, and you will not, beyond that, you will not indulge in any other unethical practice. Similarly, a company can decide that it will not make any dishonest claims in its advertising, or it will not falsely criticize the competitors. So, what is the quantum of the ethical component you are taking? See, ethics is a very, very notoriously abstract field. What is right for you can be wrong for another person. That's why I say all stakeholders, the company, top management, the key employees, they must sit when they make this plan. Finally, the company will now decide as to having taken ethical decisions. This will come at a cost. So, how will you leverage the capital of these ethical decisions in your business? Because for some companies, or for most companies, let the truth be told, it is impossible that they will think that because they are adhering to the ethical decisions, that in itself is a big reward. अगर हमने घूस देनी बंद कर दी तो उसमें हमें फायदा क्या हुआ? क्या आप इस चीज को बोलेंगे? Whether you will advertise the fact that you are a very ethical company, like the body shop example I gave you, they are leveraging their adherence to ethics. They are saying we don't do testing on animals, we use only organic products, we treat our employees fairly. So ethical marketing often highlights the ethical choices a company takes. This can be a very powerful way to connect with the customer, but sometimes it looks self congratulatory. अपने मुंह मियाँ मिट्ठू बन रहे हैं. अरे आप ethical हो तो इसको इतना क्या गाना गा रहे हो? आप ethical हो, ethical हो, ethical. Any effort of ethical marketing has to balance the company's self interest. It's a very tough decision. Very tough decision. The decision is not to be taken in haste. All stakeholders are to be involved, and it must have the blessing of the top management. So I think I have been able to explain to you how to develop an ethical plan and then implement it. And once you have codified the plan, once you have codified your code of ethics, it has to be communicated to all employees. There have to be ethical audits. You have to review this plan. In your monthly meetings, you will review what are the violations of the plan you laid out. What are the violations of the principles? Who violated it? What would be the penalty? What will be the reward for somebody who adheres to the plan and yet achieves the target, the commercial targets, the business targets? I hope you have enjoyed this lecture and you would be able to implement an ethical plan. First of all, develop an ethical plan and implement in your organization when you go out to work. Thank you very much.